Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Hero Movie Podcast, your greatest source for superhero movie discussion in the multiverse. I am your host, Adam Portrais, and I'm joined by Sean Kovacs.
What's up, dudes and some ladies?
And of course, oh, wait a second, darn Bruce Leslie is out this week. I'm going to say battling ninjas. Whatever.
He broke himself.
He broke himself, but good. And honestly, I think it needs to be somehow in the next book. I don't know why all of a sudden I'm very much on the next Nerd Spawn book, because we've had a lot of like weird stuff happen to where it's just like, that's fuel, that's fuel, that's fuel. Just put it all in the hopper, man. Get it going and just turn the crank and watch that sucker fly to the moon, boy, because we got enough stuff that it's really starting to pile up going, if you don't write this second book, we're going to have some problems. But fear not. Go ahead and tweet him at Chubby Wizard. Let him know that you love him, you appreciate him, and God bless him. He gave us a comic book connection, and you're gonna have to suffer through me reading it. So let him know that you want him back in as fast as humanly possible. But you know what I like, John? I love the people that support this show over at patreon.com/HMP, because every month these people, we put the power in their hands. You know, there's so many podcasts that people listen to, and they are beholden to whatever those podcasters want to, put in their ear holes every week. Not us. Not us. We do a lot of demanding, saying you're going to listen to this and you're going to listen to that, but we also open it up to the field and we say, hey, what do you guys want to talk about? So every month, we give you people, supporters over there at patreon.com/HMP, the option of one of the movies that we're going to review this month. And this one, let me tell you, it was a barn burner all over the place. And here were the choices. Coming in fourth place, we had Batman Brave and the Bold, Invasion of the Secret Santas. Coming up in next place there was Human Target, Other Side of the Mall. In third place, second place, Justice League, Comfort and Joy. But the winner, by a decent little margin here, was He-Man and She-Ra Christmas.
Yes, it was.
Yes, it was. And that's what we'll be talking about this week. And
well, I think I even when I was texting you guys, I think I even said, look, if He-Man and She-Ra doesn't win, then we're doing this all wrong.
There were some good choices, to be sure, but this was we haven't done anything He-Man related on the show yet, so
no,
it's gonna be interesting.
And watching this week, it showed me just how little I, one, remembered about He-Man, and two, how little I knew in the first place.
Yeah, I think with me, being a little younger, I liked He-Man a good bit growing up. And we'll talk about some of the perceptions of He-Man over the years and stuff, and my thoughts on that as a child versus now. And but boy, I think, as was the case with this show, as I'm sure we'll talk about in the comic book connection and everything, this was very much just one of those shows like Transformers that was built to sell kids toys.
Oh, without a doubt, man. And there's a bunch of stuff in this movie, in this special, where
cinematic adventure.
Yes, when things show up in this cartoon, it's just like, oh, good God Almighty, you're clearly trying to sell new toys in this thing.
But so many of the things that are in this, from like Skeletor's like bike thing to you name it. Like, I was just like, oh, I had that toy, or a friend of mine had that toy. Oh, I remember that one, kind of thing. There was so much of that going on to where it was like, and again, good job on the show. I don't remember so much of the show as I remember the products that came from that show.
Oh, that's interesting, man, because the way I watched He-Man every single day growing up. I had a paper route, and people would get their paper late because I would stick around my parents' house to watch He-Man and then go do my paper route. Like, that's how often I watch the show.
Gladys, that kid's today, watching He-Man again. Where's my flipping paper?
But watching this show today, or over the weekend, because I saw it twice, Seeing it twice made me realize I was a really stupid kid.
Oh, there's a ton of that stuff, man. I loved the Beetlejuice cartoon growing up. I loved that thing because I was a little bit too young to see Beetlejuice. At the time, it was a little bit too scary and everything. So, but that television show made it very palatable and everything. And then they put a couple of episodes on the Beetlejuice Blu-ray that came out. And when I put that thing on, it was just like, oh my gosh, how stupid were we? Were we really that dumb to watch this and go like, oh, this is a great show? Like, you want to go, did we have a lot of gas leaks in the house when we were growing up? What was going on that I thought this was entertaining? I don't know. So,
man, you're right. There's a whole lot of that.
But sometimes you do get like the lovely thing where you'll look back and it'll be like, oh, that's still great. Animaniacs is one of those. That's still like really, really smart, intelligent work that, you can tell adults were into what they were doing as opposed to, oh, we got to sell them some more crap. But we'll be talking about He-Man and She-Ra Christmas today. And boy, if there were ever a Christmas show that covered pretty much all the bases when it comes to Christmas, I think this one's definitely going to be it. I was really surprised at where some of these things went. But let's go ahead.
Do you want to do the comp?
Yeah, let's go ahead and do this. Bruce may not be here, but his spirit is still with us. See if you can see that chubby ghost floating through the night. I don't know where I was going with that.
Wow.
He's not dead. He's still alive. All right.
I could be more offended by the chubby thing.
He's got a flippin' show called Chubby Wizard, for crying out loud. These are the names he's given himself.
That is true.
And let's start over. I'm already off to a great start. In the illustrated mini comics released with the first series of toys drawn by Alfredo Alcala, He-Man is a barbarian from an Eternia tribe. The planet's inhabitants are dealing with the aftermath of the Great Wars, which devastated the citizens that once ruled supreme over all lesser beings. The wars left behind advanced machinery and weaponry known only to select people. In an early carnation of the Sorceress of Castle Grayskull, gives He-Man some of these weapons and sets out to defend the secrets of Castle Grayskull from the evil villain Skeletor. He-Man possesses one half the power of the sword. The second half is possessed by Skeletor, who uses it as his main weapon. When joined, the two halves of the power sword will provide the key to Castle Grayskull. He-Man was originally a barbarian leader of a small tribe of humans on the planet Eternia. He sets off to find and defend Castle Grayskull, and he finds that there's a great power inside that needs to be defended. Along the way, he helps a woman who's attacked by a bear. By a bear, come on, guys. She turns out to be a goddess and rewards He-Man with the power of super strength and invulnerability. It would be later he would also save warrior goddess named Teela from a demon named Skeletor, who planned to take her as his bride and capture the castle. Skeletor became a constant threat in trying to take the castle, but never played an overall serious role, often sending new henchmen to fight He-Man, such as Man-E-Faces, get it, everybody? And Trapjaw.
He's a good guy. What are you talking about?
Listen, I'm sure he came off as a bad one. All of these, I think he was bad at first and then came good, if memory serves.
At first, yeah, and then he became good. You're right.
Yeah. Boy, that's sad that I remember that from 30 years ago. All of these schemes would be undone by He-Man in short order, some of which include the use of mystical items. Here's a little bit about the old Filmation series. His true identity is Prince Adam of Eternia, son of King Randor and Queen Marlena, who live in the palace of Esternos? I don't know. Eternos. Again, we'll talk about all that kind of crap in a minute. Son, blah, 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 in Eternos, along with Adam and the rest of their inner circle. The Queen, originally Captain Marlena Glenn, was a lost astronaut from the planet Earth. The Sorceress of Castle Grayskull endows Prince Adam with the power to transform into He-Man which Adam does by holding aloft his power sword, proclaiming, "By the power of Grayskull." Prince Adam's pet is cowardly green tiger named Cringer. Whenever Adam becomes He-Man, he similarly transforms Cringer into a brave, armored green tiger named Battlecat. Battlecat serves as He-Man's quote-unquote steed while fighting and fiercely fighting companion. There we go. That's the words I'm looking for. Like He-Man, he was created prior to his alter ego. Adam is friendly with the beautiful and strong-willed Teela. That sounds like that lady that was on the shows that was kind of a... Anyways. The adoptive daughter of his mentor, and I'll talk about it, Man-at-Arms and General Duncan. Teela is revealed to be the only daughter of the sorceress and the future inheritor of Grayskull. The sorcerers chose adoption for Teela after her father died when she was just a baby. How long does this go on, Bruce? The episode Evil Lynn's pilot reveals that she also created He-Man's harness from a rare Eternian mineral called Korodite, which adds to his physical strength. Of course he does. To protect his family, He-Man keeps his double identities secret, sharing a knowledge only with Man-at-Arms, Orko, Cringer/Battlecat, and the Sorceress. With the advent of She-Ra, Princess of Power series, this list expanded into also include Adora/She-Ra, Spirit/Swiftwind, Light Hope, Luki, Madame Raz, and Cowl. Boy, it really seemed like they were always playing a game of Boggle when it came to these names, didn't it? Just shake it up and write whatever you see there in the tea leaves.
Well, you see, Cowl is a koala and an owl.
That makes sense.
So thank you for that, Bruce.
Thanks, Bruce.
Thanks for doing all that work. That is a whole lot of work. So how much of this story did you know going into it this week? How much did you A, remember, or B, know in the first place?
Now, I remember all the kind of real, just broad strokes of He-Man, who he is, whose secret identity, and all that kind of jazz. And I watched a fair bit of She-Ra, too, as well. I mean, when you've got a younger sister in the house, it kind of stands to reason. If you're watching He-Man, you're going to watch She-Ra. And honestly, the She-Ra ones weren't really all that bad, if memory serves. So as far as the Christmas special, I really knew nothing about it kind of going in, but it's one of those, I see and know the cast of characters. Let's see what we're going to get into here.
Right. Because I, as I stated earlier, I watched He-Man every single day as a kid. But around the time that She-Ra came out, I stopped watching He-Man because other things started coming up, I want to say Mask started airing and things like that, and I started watching that instead.
When are we getting a Mask movie, people? Come on now.
Yeah, no kidding. That'd be awesome. But I didn't know anything. I didn't know, for some reason, I didn't know that He-Man and She-Ra were brother and sister, twin brothers and sisters. I didn't know that.
I thought they were either brother, sister, or cousins or something.
That's what I thought. I thought they were cousins or something stupid like that. I also did not know that, and I just learned this today doing my due diligence, that Skeletor originally worked for Hordak, and then split off from Hordak. And that is, and when that happened, the reason why we hadn't seen She-Ra before, even though they were twin brother and sister, is that they stole She-Ra as a baby and raised her somewhere else. Even though no one ever spoke about that ever on the show until after She-Ra shows up. No one ever said, "Oh, hey, by the way, you also have a twin sister that we haven't seen in 20 years." No one mentioned that, and then She-Ra shows up, and bam, twin brother and sisters. And so I didn't know any of that stuff. I didn't know anything basically post She-Ra, because I know that they kept expanding the universe. I stopped watching probably the second season of He-Man, third season of He-Man.
Mm-hmm. And the funny thing is with never mentioning it at all, if you watch, there's a great docuseries out on Netflix called The Toys That Made Us, and there is a He-Man episode, so you can go through literally the whole history of He-Man and just realize how much of a how do we sell these dumb kids toys.
Yeah, really. And you know, the weird thing is that I because I didn't know any of that until that Netflix series. And the craziest story of all of those stories is the Barbie one. Like the Barbie one is so crazy. Watch the whole thing if you can. It's great.
It's good stuff. So available on Netflix.
So do you want to get into the breakdown of this?
Yes.
And we'll go blow by blow.
Let's do.
All right. So we open on a wide shot of a snowing Eternia, and we hear music that might or may not be Christmas music, and everyone's getting ready for Prince Adam and Andora's double birthday party, or even She-Ra's friends from far-off Etheria show up, and everyone's helping to decorate, and the festivities have been going on for days. He-Man's mom lets it slip that it reminds her of Christmas back on Earth, which lends me to ask the question, are She-Ra and He-Man dirty-blooded? Are they half Eternian? And if they're half Earthlings, no wonder why Skeletor and Hordak are always so mad at them. So, Adam, starting off, we have all of this happening at the castle in Eternia. And we see everybody together. We see all of She-Ra's gallery of her friends. We see all of He-Man's friends. Even Teela, who is a big part of the He-Man cartoons, is just kind of deep in the background, like hanging out.
Yeah, it becomes a Where's Waldo of like, what toys do you remember?
Yeah, exactly. And the weirdest thing about this entire show is that they keep pushing characters that weren't big on the cartoon forward for the special, because Too Bad was not a character that was a big time presence on the cartoon series. But I remember seeing him on shelves, and so somebody somewhere said, "Hey, let's push this character forward as the double-headed monster character that hangs out with Skeletor."
How'd you like to be in those meetings and stuff and just be like, look, I'm just wanting my character to get a little bit more screen time. They haven't been selling as well. How many times do we have to try this? Your character is stupid. No one likes it. That's the reason why it doesn't sell. Putting it out front for people is not going to make it happen.
Steve.
Ooh. What was the little guy that you could crunch down and then like the legs popped back up? I had one of those.
You're talking about Ram Man.
Ram Man, that's it. I can't remember the names. I'll just go like, oh, that one. But yeah, I will say this though too. Have you ever had a birthday party where throngs of people have been setting up for your birthday for nigh on a week?
For days. That's the part that makes it funny to me. Not only have they been decorating for days, they've been partying for days as well.
Battle Cat looks like, well, now he's not Battle Cat at this time, but he's on the ground and it just looks like he looks like he's half in the bag, to be frank.
That's fine, because you don't want Cringer talking a whole bunch, because all he does is complain.
I don't like anything else.
He's basically the C-3PO of the He-Man universe, where it's just like, shut up, Cringer. Just look, can we change him into Battle Cat just all the time?
And Anthony Daniels is over there going, hey, they didn't have to butch me up to be C-3PO. I was just C-3PO all the time. That's how amazing I was. It's just like, shut up.
So He-Man's dad asks He-Man's mom, what is this Christmas? Because she goes, oh, this reminds me of Christmas. He's like, what is this Christmas that you're speaking of? Is that an Earth holiday? Like, it's never come up before. Like, they've been married for years and it's never come up before now. Hogwash.
What is this?
They've been married for at least 20 years. And you're trying to tell me that it's never come up before. The biggest holiday as an American, because you got to figure she's probably American just from the way that she speaks.
On account of.
It's the biggest American holiday. She's never brought it up before. Come on.
Oh yeah, that's a thing. I've never longed for it until this birthday celebration has made me go, you know what? This is kind of like Christmas. No birthdays before ever made you think of Christmas? You say? Come on.
Yeah, exactly. You mean your Christ-like son His birthday never reminded you of Christmas ever? Huh. Okay.
One being
And
born
then
a
we
small
cut to
child and
Prince
then being
Adam
taken away
complaining
for a
to
long time.
Man-at-Arms
That's
because
not biblical. Go ahead.
sorry, we have a massive delay happening, Adam.
That's okay.
Sorry about that. So, what were you saying?
I was just saying, also with you know, a child being taken away at young birth and everything, and being raised differently. No biblical undertones in that at all.
But nothing in Eternia would ever remind me of Christmas ever. Not for 20 years. It's ridiculous.
Not
man.
even the fact that Battle Cat's colors
Okay,
are
then
basically
we
Christmas colors.
Almost. So then we cut to Prince Adam complaining to Man-at-Arms that they're not helping with decorating the castle. It's been days and days, and they're not helping decorate the castle. And Man-at-Arms puts the finishing touches on a rocket that he calls the Sky Spy, which he plans on using to spy on Skeletor all the time. And that's when that crap bag Orko has to get his stupid hands on the controls of this rocket and breaks the machinery that Man-at-Arms probably spent 2 years making, and Orko shoots the rocket into orbit while still inside of the rocket. So I wanted to stop here for a second. Is there any character worse than the character of Orko? I remember as a kid even hating that character.
He is the cousin Oliver of He-Man, for sure.
He is.
I think Cousin Oliver gets in there. What's his? There's a couple of others, but yeah, every now and then you'll have one of these characters that's just like, a lot of people would say Scrappy-Doo, but I'll be honest, I was a young child. Scrappy-Doo was invented to appeal to kids like me, and did. As an adult, I understand why. I get why nobody likes Scrappy-Doo, but as a child, I like some Scrappy-Doo. He was a small, scrappy Scooby-Doo, so why not?
But those two characters that you've just name dropped on, those two characters are characters that came in later into the series. True. Like everybody hates Oliver because Oliver came in late. Everybody hates Scrappy-Doo because Scrappy-Doo came in years later.
Yeah.
You know, with Orko from the very pilot episode of He-Man, he was there. And I hated him from the beginning as a kid, and I think he was supposed to appeal to me as a kid.
Yeah, for sure.
But he didn't, and I can even remember my parents, who never complained about anything I ever watched ever, hating that character. Like I couldn't even watch the show on TV if my parents were in the room.
Oh
like
no, you're not watching that Orko garbage again, are you? Not in my house.
They didn't know the character's name, so they were whenever they just heard the voice, they'd be like, "There is absolutely no way I'm listening to this crap. Change it."
Oh no.
And so it became a thing in our house. Like, Mom and Dad aren't around. Let's watch He-Man. After a while,
those bad kids.
and then both my parents worked, so I basically got to watch them all the time after my mom got a job working full time.
Ma, could you please go out to the working world so I can stay at home and watch He-Man, please? Thank you.
I want to watch He-Man whenever I want to. Exactly. So Skeletor doesn't like the idea of constantly being spied on by a mustachioed man in a bike helmet. It goes after the Sky Spy, and that sets off Prince Adam, who then summons the power of Grayskull to turn into He-Man.
So let's talk about this for a second, because this is always something I've had a problem with He-Man, is if you don't have to keep a secret identity of some sort, why not just be He-Man all the time?
Well, I don't know, and I also don't understand, like, if he's got the sword inside of the castle, and I'm not talking about, the way they cheaped out on it where you can see the backgrounds and stuff. Like, if he's pulling out the sword, and all of that power is going into the sword and turning it into He-Man, isn't there going to be collateral damage?
You'd think there'd be a ton of it. Yeah, it's just like in Terminator 2 when, you get transported in there. Wherever that sphere was, that kind of got destroyed.
Yes. Yeah. And, there's going to be scorched paint and burned carpets and, It's like that's constantly going to be around.
Prince Adam, how many times have I told you, you go outside when you transform into He-Man?
Well, more so his parents don't know, right? And so it must be a massive mystery inside of that castle where they're like, what is he doing? Why doesn't he just pleasure himself like every other kid his age? What is he doing here?
Just decides to just kind of throw half of the place up in tender and just go like, it's fine. It's what I do, Mom.
My other problem with this is that because She-Ra gets her power completely separate from Prince Adam, right? Like they didn't get the power at the same time. So two miraculous things happened to these twins. Like they both get, and it's from the same power source. It comes from the same place. Like when Flash gets struck by lightning, Kid Flash doesn't become Kid Flash with the exact same cloud structure hitting the exact same chemicals. You know what I mean? Like it's the same place. It all comes from the same place, and it's the same family, and it's a brother and sister who are twins. That's something that would even make Stan Lee go, I'm not writing that.
Yeah, we get into that Amazing Spider-Man 2 category here where it's just like, it had to be this kind of things. You're like, oh, really?
Yeah.
Did it, though? I don't think so.
So when He-Man goes off to stop Skeletor, He-Man is about to get captured, and She-Ra shows up on a rainbow unicorn Pegasus and sets him free. The Sky Spy then phases into a different dimension, taking Orko with it, which I thought would give us some Orko-free viewing for a few minutes, but I was wrong.
Incorrect you are.
Because He-Man then goes back to the castle immediately, and Man-at-Arms says he'll use the Finder Beam to locate the missing rocket, just as Orko crash lands the rocket on a distant world called Earth. So I don't know about you, but when he crash lands on Earth, I did not know right away that it was Earth. Did you understand that immediately?
You just figure it's a planet. We don't really know where. Again, they're like, look, it's 7-year-olds that are watching this. We don't have to be too in the weeds for everything.
But when he does crash land, like there's probably like 30 seconds where I'm like, oh, there's trees and snow that looks a lot like Earth. Like I wonder where they are. Oh, they're actually on Earth. Like because when you see Earth from space from the Sky Spy, you don't. It doesn't really look like Earth. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it looks like a cloudy planet. It doesn't, and it's not flat like Earth is. It's just like a regular planet.
See, guys, Sean wants to see an Earth where it shows North America and all the lines are there for the states.
Well, I want it to show Earth the way that Earth should look because Earth is flat.
Oh, of course.
And that's what I wanted to see. I didn't want to see what the government tells us that the Earth looks like, because the Earth does not look like that at all. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
I mean, look at me. I'm standing right now in a room that's completely flat. Like I don't feel any curvature to my feet.
The Earth is spinning like 1,000 miles per hour. What are you? What? No.
Whatever.
Okay, pal.
Okay.
You think I'd
right.
feel that? Okay.
NASA. Whatever.
Jeez.
So Orko crash lands on Earth, and then the unfunny, incredibly unfunny, horribly unfunny Orko then runs across two lost children named Alicia and Miguel who are looking for a Christmas tree in the middle of nowhere. They are in the Himalayas looking for a Christmas tree. And the kids then explain to Orko about Christmas and the concept of a Christian God.
First of all, I do love how like these characters don't even care that they're seeing some sort of weird ghost-like creature in a wizard's outfit sailing around and talking about stuff. And you're just like, yeah, that's a thing. I'm cool with this.
And the kids look young enough to where those kids want to pull that hat off of Orko like right away.
They'd be touching
what's under
them
there.
Yeah.
But no.
They don't
Nothing at
have
all.
enough questions. No one's just going like, where are you from? Why you do this? What's that smell? There's none of these
Exactly.
things going on. They're just kind of, they accept it at full face value of like, oh, well, we've got a weird alien creature friend. I guess that's, what he needs? The all versions of what Christmas means. Because they give him the whole thing. They give you the Jesus route, they give you the Santa route, and a little bit of good feelings and vibes there too. They give you all of them. They're just like, ain't nobody bitching about this one. We're gonna give them all of the Christmas. They're gonna get everything, so everybody will be okay. They even get to a point later on where they're just like, hey man, some people don't even celebrate Christmas. They got other stuff, but we're talking about Christmas right now. So just so you know.
Wait, because next year's holiday special is going to be about Kwanzaa. So then we cut back to Eternia, where He-Man and She-Ra figure out that the rocket has landed on Earth, and Man-at-Arms has a device that can get them there, that can get Orko back to Eternia, but it needs a certain crystal to power it, which She-Ra says they have back on her planet.
A water crystal. What is that? Is that ice? That's ice.
It's Swarovski or whatever it's called, that stupid crystal place that's in the mall. So She-Ra goes back to her planet and learns that there is in fact a water crystal, but it's being guarded by the beast monster, which She-Ra only thought was a legend. And She-Ra gets the crystal and then runs into 3 of the dumbest looking giant robots called Monstroids. But then they trap her in a bubble and take off, and She-Ra gets out of that bubble easily enough by turning her sword into a flaming sword and takes the crystal to Man-at-Arms.
All right, so let's talk about this because this seems to be a recurring theme. I think She-Ra is kind of got like the Inspector Gadget thing going on, where it's always just like, oh, I need to get out of this situation. Well, it just so happens that my sword also turns into a lasso. Oh, yeah. Did I mention that it also turns into a shish kebab? Did I mention that it also turns into a chainsaw? It could just be about anything. All she's got to do is wish real hard on a star or some such nonsense, and then, oh, look at that. It's fine.
And at some point when she's fighting the robots, she just holds the sword in front of the giant robot, and from the jewel inside of it shoots a laser.
Yeah, it's also a gun. Your sword's also a gun. Boy, that's you want to talk about some good wares there. It's just like, hey man, I need a sword, but can it also be a gun? and
I want it to turn into rope. Because the thing that we haven't mentioned yet is that when she does turn it into a lasso, the lasso at first is still in the shape of the sword. So it's a rope that's in the shape of the sword.
Yeah.
Which is hilarious.
And then she just kind of slings it back and then forward, and then you go.
So it turns into a lasso eventually. But at first, it's all in the shape of a sword.
It's a rope sword.
It's a rope sword. A stupid rope sword. But with the machine now working, a beam teleports Orko and the 2 children back to Eternia, where we learn it'll be several days before the human children can be sent back to Earth. And the kids are worried that they might miss Christmas, but you know what they aren't worried about? Their parents.
Yes.
They're more worried about Christmas. They're worried that they're going to miss Santa. They're not worried that their parents are going to be scared to death about what happened to them.
Listen, they'll get over it, but Santa, he might not show.
And here's another thing that I didn't realize, because after that we cut away to the Prime Horde summons both Skeletor and Hordak to his fire planet or whatever that is. I don't even know where it is he lives, but the Prime Horde, I didn't know Skeletor had a boss, but he does. He's like the big boss, and Skeletor and Hordak are basically like the second level bosses, two of them.
Yeah.
And they both report to the Prime Horde, who we never actually see. He's like Dr. Claw from Inspector Gadget, second Inspector Gadget reference of the evening, where you just see a giant metal hand come down and just get very, very angry with them, with the both of those guys for bickering.
I'm tired of all this crap. And you're like, oh boy.
He even sounds like Dr. Claw, really.
Yeah, listen, all they had is 8 voices back in 1988.
So the Prime summons Skeletor and Hordak and tells him that these human kids have brought kindness and the spirit of Christmas with them, and it's disrupting the evil in their universe. So whoever gets the kids and brings them to him will be well rewarded. And Hordak says he'll be the one to do it. And Skeletor then says the best line of the entire special. He says, and I'm quoting, You can't even handle that muscle-bound female She-Ra. Which is the best line of the entire special. That muscle-bound female. So good. We then cut back to Eternia, where a dude with a heart on his costume named Bo, clearly part of the She-Ra universe, named Bo, makes up a Christmas song on the spot, and the kids start immediately singing the words without ever hearing the song before.
I love we've got like this scene has everything. It's got weird alien instruments of which no one knows what they are or how they work. It's like, is that a harp? Is it a guitar? Is it a guitar harp? What's going on there? And you're right. Everyone is just, they're like, oh, this old Jim, let's dust this one off. We know all the words, and our lips will maybe sort of put out some sort of words that we can dub in later and just go like, yeah, it's what you heard. Shut up.
Close enough.
So I will say this before we kind of go on. Something that I didn't realize, and I'm sure that, watching any of the He-Man or She-Ra stuff these days, in retrospect would let you know, is how much of the animation was just recycled nonstop.
Oh man, but
It's
I mean,
kind of
Filmation. Filmation is infamous for that, man. I mean, they did that constantly.
Oh yeah, I mean, I guess as a kid, it never really registers, but man, as an adult, you look at everything and you're just like, oh, that's just all you did was change a background. I mean, at least you changed a background, but sometimes they don't. But
yeah,
every now and then they're just like, oh, well, at least you changed the background. Or just so many like weird, dumb. You're asking yourself, why are there so many weird, odd close-ups of everyone's face? It's called. That's just because they didn't want to have to draw a background, and they could put that into anything. That's exactly why it is. And She-Ra looks like she's on all kinds of drugs. That I don't know what's up with her eyes, but it is just like it's a little freaky to look at.
It is. It is. And the thing that I didn't realize until watching it today and yesterday is that just how much of it is whatever they is it called was it called rotoscoping back then? Whatever it is, where you're animating over people's actual movements.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of that happening in He-Man, where you actually see like the movement is clearly someone actually walking, and the animators just animating over video of people walking, because like bodybuilders or something walking, because the movement of these characters doesn't look anything like they usually look.
Yeah.
Like it's not cartoony. It looks like the way someone would actually walk with all that mass to them.
But here you just kind of go, what? Wait a minute, that looks off. What's going on here? It makes you question everything that you're watching right now. It's like, huh? This is on a different level than that stuff over here. So you really are just spinning the wheel scene to scene, sometimes even shot to shot, as the quality as to what you're about to receive.
It's true. You are absolutely right about that. But when Bo finishes his song and they all finish singing, everyone begins laughing for no reason whatsoever.
That's always my favorite, just maniacal. We've had such a good time. Where you get that point where your eyes just they don't shut, they get really watery, and you're just laughing super hard, just like the Joker has like smashed you with some sort of laughing gas. You're just like, ah.
and then Hordak shows up and kidnaps the kids in his helicopter that's shaped like, let's be generous and call it a tipped over bowling pin.
Yes.
But it looks an awful lot like Ace and Gary's vehicle with the ambiguously gay duo.
And there's there's just, just add a little helicopter thing onto the back end of it. You're good to go. And you look at that going, there's no way that flies.
It is so it is so phallic that it's not even hiding how phallic the thing is.
Like, you know what this is. Let's not.
And
play.
For a show like He-Man, you know, a guy who's half naked all the time, and then you see this giant flying phallus in the middle of it. It's like, wow, they really didn't even try to hide any of this stuff back then. They're just like, yep, that's what that is. Well, now, when you're watching it.
Now that you mentioned that, I want to talk about something that, like, you know, that kind of got me, because years and years ago when they did, like, you know, any of those VH1 type shows, your best weeks ever or anything along those lines, where, you know, you have comedians commenting on X, Y, and Z, or I love the, you know, 80s or whatnot. Any of those type crap shows. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that they came up with, you know, was the whole, like, oh, He-Man is a super gay show. And it was just one of those things, like, as an adult, I was going, you know what, I watched that stuff as a kid, and I'll be honest, I think you guys are you're pulling a little bit too hard on the strings. You want to make something that it's not. This is just a children's program. Why are you just trying to make it overtly sexual? There's nothing like that in this show. And then you go back and watch it, and you're just like, maybe.
Yeah, you're right.
Maybe there's a little bit more than meets the eye than what's kind of going on here, because there's some of it you're like, yeah, very well could be. Very well could be. I was very staunch for a while. I was just like, no, you're reading way too much into that. And then you're like, maybe not.
I had some buddies a few years ago talk, and this is years ago, like I was in college. And they started talking about how just how homoerotic the Top Gun volleyball scene is, the beach volleyball scene is. And I didn't. And at the time when they're discussing it, I was like, I've seen Top Gun like 3 times. What are you talking about? And probably a year and a half ago, it was the same thing happened to me that happened to you with He-Man, where I started watching. I was like, oh, okay. Yep, they were absolutely right. I got to call some people, you know.
Can you believe? And it's like, yeah.
Yeah, they were right. They were right.
Now let me see. I'm trying to figure out what the name of it was. He's in something. So Quentin Tarantino does a little acting role in something really in the early 90s there. I'm trying to figure out. Maybe it's like something.
Oh, I know the movie you're talking about, because he has nothing to do with it. He's just an actor.
Yeah, he's just an actor in it, but he goes through the whole thing about how gay of a movie Top Gun truly is, and apparently that was like a bit that Roger Avery, his co-writer on Pulp Fiction, used to do. That was his big giant jag, was like that, and then Tarantino basically stole it, put it in a movie, and didn't tell him about it until it came out.
Well, that sounds very Tarantino.
It does. It's just like, hey, I'm gonna take this good story and I'm rolling with this. That's mine. But you don't, in a movie, you can't just go like, oh, by the way, this gives a credit to Roger Avery on this joke. Wait, what? No. You don't do that. That's silly. But yeah, He-Man, super gayer than I had remembered, for sure.
Yes, for sure. So then some stuff happens, and Skeletor ends up with the kids, and Skeletor and the kids end up stranded in the snow, and the kids complain about how cold it is, and Skeletor makes winter jackets magically appear on the children with his black magic. And
because that's what black magic is best for, making children warm.
For making children's coats. That's right. And there's a robot dog that he also saves from the cold. Now, why would someone design a robot to feel cold? But they did. And this dog was about to die in the cold, and Skeletor saves them. And the kids really start falling for Skeletor. They think he's a great guy. And
you just reminded me of that great Simpsons bit where it's like, Daddy, make me legs. Why was I designed to feel pain?
and then the second best line in the show. It's always Skeletor, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
Skeletor has the best lines, and at least in this thing. And then Skeletor says the second best line in the entire special, which is, "Listen, I am not nice, I am not cold, and I am not wonderful," which I just found so funny.
No, guys, I'm evil, I swear. Just because I made you coats and didn't want to watch small children die. Not evil enough, man.
And the kids like weirdly, and it's funny because I liked Skeletor as a kid. I liked Skeletor as much as I liked He-Man. I can remember really, really liking Skeletor as a kid.
He's dopey, but there's something about him that's kind of lovable. There's a lovable stupidity to him.
There is, and there's something great about him too. And his design is so cool, and the voice is awesome. Like everything about him is pretty great. And then there's He-Man, who's like, "Hey, how's it going? I'm He-Man. Hey,
what's going on?
I have this Dutch boy haircut."
No one can figure it's me. All I am is a lot more tanner and a bit more naked. They're looking at the other stuff. They're not looking at the face, so no one puts two and two together.
And also, if you'll notice, my voice is several octaves lower than Prince Adam's.
I'm up here. I'm down here.
That's right. We're two totally different people.
Yeah, I wouldn't even notice. They needed to get into, I don't know if they had this, but they needed to get into some sort of Miss Doubtfire situation where he's just got to be in both places at the same time and going back and forth between, but also with accumulative destruction around him when he turns into He-Man. Oh, I'd watch that.
Well, there's that one episode where where in the old series where Faker shows up, who is basically just it's also He-Man, but with a different color scheme to him.
Yeah.
Remember? And I want to say, I don't remember, but I want to say that that's how they got around it later, was that they used Faker as He-Man and Prince Adam showed up as Prince Adam. I might be wrong, but I don't think I am. Anyway, there's nothing great about that paragraph I just said. So Skeletor is about to hand over the kids to Horde Prime when He-Man, She-Ra, and Hordak all show up, and a massive battle that puts Avengers Infinity War to shame ensues. And Horde Prime is about to take the kids when Skeletor saves them, and He-Man and She-Ra threw Horde Prime's spaceship into the sun.
So it's a happy ending.
So then at the then we cut to the final scene. He-Man dresses up as Santa, gives the kids flying belts, and the kids are sent back to Earth. And we learn that Christmas isn't just about presents, and that is the He-Man and She-Ra Christmas special. Now, I want to mention one thing about Miguel and Elisa's parents.
Yes.
The father looks like Captain Lou Albano, like a Mexican Captain Lou Albano.
He does.
And the mom is gorgeous. So whatever that man is doing, we all need to be doing that.
Get into that business.
Because their mom, it's almost like King of Queens, except for instead of it being Leah Remini, who, even though she hates Scientology, is also a terrible person. Both of those things are true. This woman just seemed like a very nice, very pretty lady.
And this guy just seemed like he's like, what? He had one of those faces on, which was always great. Anytime a parent can be like, what are you?
Man,
you're floating up to your room.
So if we're about to look over what we've done tonight, I got to hit my two favorite spots, which are that the Earth is flat. I'm glad I got to bring that up.
We've all been in planes. You don't see a circle. That's all flat, baby.
It's all flat. And the second thing is when is that as terrible as Scientology can be, Leah Remini is also a terrible person, even though she hates Scientology. She is also a bad person. So both of these, like, I cannot understate that. Like, I can't overstate that enough. Leah Remini is just an awful, awful human being.
She seems like she'd be so lovely, though. Except she doesn't.
No. Maybe she is, but maybe she is a lovely lady. But she is just awful. I mean, even on her own show, just watch her own show when the way she talks to the people around her, it's terrible. Like the people who are like helping her make her show. Come on, get out of here with that stuff.
How many sandbags am I going to trip over today? What's going on? Who wants to get stabbed?
Like Open your eyes, people. Anyway.
Because both of these things are true.
They are.
Flat
Both
Earth, mean Leah Remini. These are all facts.
Yep. Scientology's awful. Leah Remini's awful.
Boy, if she sued us, that'd be a great boon for the show, wouldn't it?
Well, good luck. Good luck suing us, lady.
Yeah. Listen, if you can't take down that Miscavige guy, how you think you take it down us, baby? It ain't gonna happen. I make Miscavige look like a Cabbage Patch Kid, if you dig what I'm putting down here. Bring it on.
Like a Cabbage Patch Kid.
Well, before we finish this whole thing out, I don't know how in the wide world of sports we're going to do it, but Sean, you are tasked with finding us the Stallone connection, and I can only imagine what's the Stallone connection between He-Man and She-Ra Christmas Special.
It's actually a lot easier than you think.
Huh.
Alan Oppenheimer is the voice of Skeletor, which is one of those things I'm very glad I never had happen to me, because I'd never not do Skeletor's voice.
That's true.
I'd do something stupid, and my lady would ask me why I did that, and I'd say, my power is beyond your understanding. My life would be a never-ending, nonstop episode of He-Man, and everyone around me would find me insufferable, and yet I'd never stop. There would be interventions and angry people demanding sit-downs, and it would still continue. My family would leave. The He-Man convention circuit would stop calling. The Earth will crash into the sun, and I'd keep doing Skeletor's voice. So maybe it's a good thing that Alan Oppenheimer is the man who created Skeletor's voice, because he's proven he can use it responsibly. And the crazy thing is, when you read Oppenheimer's IMDb, it says he's best known for his role in the movie Westworld, but the hell he's Skeletor, and to a lesser extent Man-at-Arms, because he also did that voice too.
Yeah.
Now, as well as being a voiceover actor, Alan Oppenheimer has a long career in front of the camera as well. He played Dr. Wells on The $6 Million Man. He was on Give Me a Break and Knight Rider. But probably most importantly, he was on the pilot episode of Mr. Belvedere, which, as unreal as it may seem, and I just learned this today, is based on a novel. What? Have you seen that show? How in the name of pancakes is Mr. Belvedere based on a book, but it is? Now, I went through the IMDb user reviews for Mr. Belvedere, and there's basically two camps. There's the I grew up with the show and I loved it camp, which is the show that I'm in. And then there's the this show is awful and I hate everything, even myself. And I'm afraid to watch this show now because I have nothing but fond memories of Mr. Belvedere, and I'm sure Bob Uecker isn't as funny to me now as he was when I was a little kid. After his turn on Mr. Belvedere, Alan Oppenheimer would spin that and parlay that, and it was newfound. Alan Oppenheimer parlayed his newfound stardom into the voiceover role of a lifetime, playing Colonel Troutman on the Rambo cartoon. Now, why anyone thought it was a good idea to turn an R-rated movie about a Vietnam vet going through severe PTSD into a kid's cartoon is beyond me, but someone thought it was a good idea, and they made an entire season of this cartoon. The best part of the show is that Rambo has his own strike force, which includes a girl named Kat, a black guy named Turbo Johnson, a ninja named White Dragon, and a former football player named T.D. Jones. I never actually watched the show because there were way, way better cartoons on when this was on. So who's this week's Stallone connection? It's frickin' Skeletor. That's right, Keldor himself. That's a deep cut for any Masters of the Universe fans out there. Alan Oppenheimer, Adam. Now, why don't you play a little rinky-tink music so the ladies can dance their way off the stage? Skeletor!
Now, I'll say this. We just missed out. An actual He-Man convention called PowerCon was held this year on August 25th and 26th in Los Angeles, California. So that's a real thing. And now, how much? Let's do this real quick. How much you figure day passes are?
I am going to say $25.
Boom! Right on the mark. Good job. Weekend
Nice.
passes are $40, but if you want the power passes, those are $225 each.
Whoo!
Those are for your real fans. You know what I'm saying?
But I bet they're well worth it.
Yeah, limit 2 power passes per order, though. So, you got
I
to
see.
step back on that one. You don't want to be too wild and crazy there. But you can get T-shirts and stuff. Parking's available for $8. So, hey, man, if you're into that He-Man con universe, man, get on top of that. Maybe they'll have us over there. I don't think so. Not after this episode. All right, so at Hero Movie Podcast, we have our own patented Robin rating system. You can find that out by heading on over to Facebook.com/Hero Movie Podcast is right there at the top of the screen. I'll start here. Look, I had fond memories of He-Man growing up as a kid. I enjoyed it quite a lot, and like I said, I think I remember the toys and that sort of experience of playing with the toys more so than the show itself. Not to say that I didn't watch the show, because Lord knows that I did. But again, 20 years worth of, well, 20, God, no, probably closer to 30 years, I guess, at this point, of time can really do away with most of those memories. But man, those toys are still ingrained in my mind. But yeah, this thing is, it's silly, but it's like 30 minutes long. It's available on YouTube right now for free. But man, that 30 minutes was a tough 30 minutes to get through. It's a little bit much for me. I'm gonna say I can't go as far as Jason Todd. I'm gonna say it's a Stephanie Brown on this for me.
It's exactly 44 minutes.
Whew.
Yeah. And I know that because the second time I went through it, I was like, oh man, this is hard. How much longer? So it's 44 minutes long. It is a very, very long 44 minutes. What helped me get through it the second time was that I wrote notes. And so that was very helpful.
There's also one with that puts on it, but that on YouTube, that's the regular show, and then after that it's the same thing again, but with a British man doing a nice little commentary for it. So if you want to check that out as well, there's somebody that's probably a little bit more on this, but he also hates Orko, so that's a good thing.
Oh, well, look at that. I have nothing but nostalgia for this, and every synapse in my brain kept going back to more and more nostalgia with the watching of this show. Mm-hmm. And for that reason alone, I'm going to give it Damian Wayne. It's totally middle of the road. It's terrible. It's very hard to watch, but it's one of those things where every so often something great happens. Skeletor is worth the watch. Even if you have to muscle through a lot of crap
stuff. Yeah, there's enough ridiculous stuff going on. And even though you love to hate him, there is that just like, Orko, you idiot kind of thing going on. That's almost a little bit fun to do, to where you're just like, what a bonehead. How is he, you again, kind of things.
I agree, but the voice is really, really hard to get through.
A lot of the voices on these things, boy, did they were just like, you know what, we could hire more actors, or we could just put weird effects on people's voices to where some of them you almost need subtitles. Because they're just overmodulated and digitized or whatever.
Well, what are you going to do? You got 4 people doing voice talent on this show. I mean, there's not a whole lot of people working on this show.
Put them through the robot monster simulator. That'll all of a sudden it's like, oh, it's another character. Okay. That's what you say. I mean, we'll go with it, I suppose. So that's it, everybody. We'd like to thank everybody that voted at this for this show over at patreon.com/HMP. And you, too, could be part of that team as well. Get yourself some pre-show, post-show, of course, the legendary Dinger Zone episode. We talk about the Marvel Cinematic Universe this week and what we thought of the new trailers and everything, and we kind of break some of that down. So if you'd like to check that out, head on over to patreon.com/HMP and join up today. Next week, I'm telling you, Bruce is going to be here next week. Wrist or no wrist, he's coming back into the game, because next week we have Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, sitting at 99%, except for what's his nose there? One guy just decides to ruin the party for everybody. But my guess is I don't think it's going to be a problem. That movie will do quite well, and we'll talk about it and give you our opinions, how it relates back to Sylvester Stallone, and, of course, comic book history. Why? Because we're H&P, doggone it. That's why. Sean, in the meantime, where can we find more of your work on the internet? And I just realized what I said, but go ahead and just say nothing.
I'm going to use this time to talk about Bruce, where you can find Bruce on the internet. You go to Amazon, you can pick up one of his books. He's got 4 books out now. The one that I know that Adam likes to talk about most is the one that Adam is in.
Yeah,
he's a character.
I love me some me.
So check out his page on Amazon, or you can go to chubbywizard.com, or you can go to one of his varying podcasts, Heroes and Villains, which is my favorite thing that he does outside of this. And just check out his stuff. He works all the time.
Very good. Speaking of Bruce Leslie, I just actually recorded an episode of the Film Find with him the other day there. It's a nice long one, too. We get into some movies and all kinds of good stuff. So if you enjoy some Bruce Leslie and you missed him this week, head on over to the Film Find and get your dose of Leslie action into your life. We all need that. All right, everybody, that is it for this week's episode. Join us next week when we're talking Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. For the absent Bruce Leslie, our good friend Sean Kovacs, my name is Adam Portrais. Stay super, everybody.